I'm reading Libra Quartus, Ancient Astrology, Other Indications of the Moon. Now that all effects of the moon, swift course must be set forth, that all we may appear have experienced everything both in general and in detail. The moon is an aspect with Saturn, makes for unfortunate parents. To Mars, she indicates low birth for both parents and misfortune of the father. If she is moving from Mars to Saturn, so she is between the two, she indicates the affliction of the sacred illness. But if she is moving from Saturn to Mars, she indicates the same, but moderately. She predicts that the affliction for a woman, if Saturn is an aspect, she makes madmen if she approaches Mars or Saturn in any shape. If Venus and Jupiter are not in aspect, if Venus and Jupiter are in aspect, all the misfortunes described above are to be lessened. The natives will be fortunate and more than fortunate with all kinds of good luck and honor if the moon and the signs in which she rejoices, without unfavorable aspects of Mars and Saturn, but in aspect to either Venus or Jupiter. The moon rejoices on the ascendant, or in the 5th or 11th house, if in its aspect to Venus and Jupiter. Also, in the 8th house, in a nocturnal chart, and in the signs in which she rejoices, with aspect to Venus and Jupiter, she indicates the great good fortune. Whatever house you have, which to study in the chart, whether character, nurture, birth, parents, brother, marriage, offspring, or last day of life, carefully observe the course, aspects, and waning and waxing moons, and of her elongation and her exaltation. We must be aware of in every chart that the sun does not come into aspect with the approaching moon. For after receding from the opposition aspect in the approaching moon, for after ascending and receding to the sun, she feels her light waning as it hastens to the synod portion. In whatever shape she is, she indicates destruction for everyone according to her form. For if her influence is strong, she indicates a great evils and misfortune. If her influence is moderate, the misfortunes are lessened. If she approaches the sun when waning and is attached to herself, to his orb, disappears from human sight, then this indicates more powerful evils and all kinds of calamities according to the forecast in which we described in the preceding parts of the book. But if it freed in conjunction with the sun, she approaches Saturn, this indicator great good and prosperity. But if she joins herself to Jupiter in a similar way, good fortune beyond all measure is predicted. The native who has this occurrence in his chart will be fortunate beyond measure. If she is found on Mars, and we said she indicates ill fortune, and according to nature and the signs, a violent death. But those evils are lessened if Mars is in a feminine sign. If the moon is an aspect to Venus on the MC or the IMC, she indicates a fortunate marriage, especially if there are no aspects to Mars. But if she is an aspect to Venus and other signs, due to predictions for good life and but marriage with a relative. If Mars is an aspect, he indicates illicit love affairs and unhappy passions. If the moon is an aspect to Mercury, this indicates infinite voices and unheard evils. Therefore, we must pay that the moon should never be an aspect to Mercury. If the waning moon by night comes in aspect with Saturn, while he is in retrograde or stationary, great calamities follow. According to the nature of the signs and the power of the houses, a violent death is predicted. Saturn, in a feminine sign, mitigates these evils somewhat. If the moon comes into aspect with Jupiter by night, the native will have an abundance of good things. Also with Mars in prediction of good fortune. The fortune will be greater if Mars is in straight course and not retrograde. Predictions will be for a good marriage if she comes into aspect with Venus on the MC, or in the 5th or the 11th house, or on the ascendant. If Saturn is not in aspect, the fortune will be even better. If Venus is in retrograde from the important houses, she will not be harmful, but may make many consumptive good predictions that are stronger in a nocturnal chart, but indications of evil stronger in a diurnal chart. Now that we've explained this in the course of the moon, let us turn to the discussion we promised in this work, namely the explanation of fortune. We cannot explain the essence of fate unless it takes place and it's investigated. We must consider the part of fortune which is much care and other points of the chart. I shall point out how easily it is to be discovered when we find it, and observe the combinations and aspects of all these planets. Then you'll be able to understand the use and part of fortune. I will be reading part of fortune later on in my next video. Please like, share, subscribe, comment any questions you have or any aspect or sign that you would like to see. Thank you.